Welcome everyone to Jack Does Horror. I'm Jack, and today's top 10 list is the best killers in horror cinema history. And as always, we go from worst to best, from last to first. And speaking of last, I feel like I'm last if you're not giving me a thumbs up. Like the video if you're watching it, because we can use the support here at Jack Does. Also, if you're not subscribed to the channel, please do, because that also helps support us. And while you're at it, hit the notification bell. Why? Because you get notified when I put other videos up on the channel. With that being said, let's get to the top 10 best killers of all time. Number 10, and I don't know why this is not on anybody's list, because if you ask me, I know there was some people before it, but when you talk about the way the genre is now, the first inaugural killer to the way that the modern killer is has to be none other than Norman Bates. Yes, Norman Bates from Psycho, the original killer that was on horror cinema, if you ask me. Yes, I know there was others, but this was the one that was mainstream. This was the one that got all the attention, and this was the one that I'm not going to say it put Alfred Hitchcock on the map, but when you think about Alfred Hitchcock, how do you not think about Psycho? Anyway, like I always tell anybody who's around me when we're having these conversations around a table or something, look, Norman Bates kept it. If you know about the movie Psycho and you're judging Psycho 2 and 3 and the franchise off of the original Psycho, yeah, I get it. It does fall short. But Norman Bates as the character, Norman Bates as that iconic figure and part of Americana cinema, absolutely 100% not only makes this list, but is true. This is one of the number one killers of all time. Come at number 9. Something a little bit more on the funner side. More funner, that's a double negative. Come at number 9, something that's a little funner. Is funner, funny, funner, or more fun? I guess it would have been more fun. Oof, okay. Okay, so coming at number 9, something a little more fun. Leslie Vernon from Behind the Mask. Yes, this movie was tons of fun and took a comedic approach. So it starts out as a documentary about somebody following a slasher, as in, well, follow me here. So they do a documentary about following a slasher, as in the slasher's not a fictional theme, it's a non-fictional theme.
11 exits from the first floor and another 8 or 9 that might be manageable from the second floor. You want to eliminate as many as you can from being practical. So I've discreetly nailed them all shut.
Don't they just smash them out?
You'd think so, but you'd be surprised. No.
And they follow a day in the life of a slasher, where he gets to show these tricks that are kind of tongue-in-cheek, like pulling the string on a rock to close a door, and little goofy things like that. You start thinking, well, this is what the movie's going to be about, and when you start thinking that way, that's when they twist, and you would be wrong. See, things get really, really serious towards the latter half of this movie, to the point where you realize Leslie Vernon's such a badass killer, he's got these people doing a documentary on him, that way they can become his next victims. Now, I'm not going to spoil this for anybody who hasn't seen it.
That way they can become his next victims.
But this movie was really awesome, with a really awesome climactic end to it. That being said, I don't know why they haven't at least done a prequel or a sequel to this movie. For anybody who's watching that may or not be able to control that, hey, there's a lot of us horrorholics out there that would love a sequel to Leslie Vernon Behind the Mask. Going with still things that are more fun than not, I'm going to go with my entry for number 8 being Chucky from Child's Play. You got a doll that has a mouth like a trucker, it sells itself to me. I am a huge, and I mean a huge, Tom Holland fan, and no, I'm not talking about the punk who played Spider-Man, I'm not about the director of Fright Night. This guy is cool with the way he writes, this guy's cool with the way he directs, he does nothing but make cool movies in my opinion. Don't agree with me? Or agree with me? Why don't you leave a comment below, because I like to hear about what everybody thinks about Mr. Holland. With that being said, when we're talking about Chucky and Child's Play, you're talking about a killer that is, whether you like it or not, it's super original. When you think of a voodoo doll, you think about one of those little like burlap guys with the buttons, you're putting needles in them. No, this is a whole nother entity. This is Chucky, controlled by the spirit, the soul of Charles Lee Ray, a murderer, ends up possessing this doll. The doll comes out, the doll wreaks havoc, tries to get himself into a 6-year-old little kid named Andy, and not in a perverted way, but he tries to get himself into this kid. That way he doesn't have to live his whole life in the doll. Look, if that's not creepy enough and you've been living underneath a rock and haven't seen or heard or know anything about Child's Play, go and give it a look. You'll see that even though it's pretty heavy subject matter, they do it in a Tom Holland fashion, which is super fun, super inviting, and a movie that you can watch over and over again and find some kind of enjoyment out of it. I guarantee it. Coming at number 7, probably the most critically acclaimed killer on the list. I'm talking about Hannibal Lecter. Silence of the Lambs had one of the best. Could you call him an antagonist? Yeah, but he was more the character that so iconic and so well acted by Sir Anthony Hopkins, we got to see the role reprised again and again. This movie had everything. Great script, great acting. I mean, for Christ's sakes, it was Academy Award winning. And let's face it, a lot of us, especially me, we don't really agree with the Academy Awards. They got this one right. Give it a look. It's really good storytelling, and nothing. Also, the guy who voiced Joyride. Candy Cane. No, Candy Cane was his name. Rusty Nail. That's it. Maybe I'll just do an impression. If you recognize this voice, you'll know the actor that does the voice of Rusty Nail. Candy Cane. He's the same guy that goes, "You gotta put the lotion in the bucket." Like, right? Give me back Precious. Give me back Precious. Was it a dog or Princess? Precious. It was Precious. Give me back Precious. Number 6. Probably the least known. Well, Leslie Vernon might be the least known, but definite runner-up, if not the least known killer on this list. I'm gonna go with Chrome Skull from Laid to Rest.
Really?
Chrome Skull in both Laid to Rest 1 and 2 showed what it was like when you could take old school way of thinking about your killer and bring them into the modern setting. I personally love this movie. I love the effects in it. I thought the killer was super cool. And though it kind of lacks story and it kind of lacks glares and all that stuff, it keeps my attention because Chrome Skull is so cool. If you're gonna watch this, watch it for fun. Watch it with a pinch of salt when it comes to the story. Watch it because, in the end of the day, this is the top 10 killer list, and Chrome Skull makes number 6 for a reason, because the guy's badassery is on the next level. Moving in on number 5, we're now in the top 5. This guy might be the least known. I don't know. He's in my collection anyway. I'm talking about From Midnight Meat Train, Mahogany, played by Vinnie Jones. This movie was definitely right up Clive Barker's alley, and if you watch Clive Barker movies, you'll know that it's going to be full of a lot of gory kills and a lot of coolness, and one of the coolest scenes had to be the killer Mahogany, who, when you guess in New York subway, uses that as his meat train where he picks up victims. But why he has the victims, why he kills these people, that's a whole nother crazy thing. And if you haven't seen this movie, I'm not gonna ruin it. Just know, this is all I'll say, that he's not just a killer, he's killing for a reason. That being said, yes, there's some stuff that's kind of junky about the movie. Right around this time, they were doing a little bit more CGI with their effects. It wasn't very crisp, so some of it looks kind of hokey and cheesy. If you can get past that, there's a lot of coolness in this movie, especially with the killer played by Vinnie Jones. If you haven't seen it, you'll see it. Coming in at number 4. Hey, number four. You know what that sounds like? 4 things that you guys could do. You could hit that thumbs up button, and if you haven't already, you could subscribe. Also, you could share this video to help support the channel, and hit that notification bell. That way you get notified when I make content. Do those 4 things, and I'll appreciate you even more than I do now. And I'm telling you, I appreciate you. You're my audience. You're my people. You're Jack Does Horror. That being said, number 4 is none other than the infamous Leatherface. Yes, I'm talking about Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. As the story goes, this character was apparently based on Ed Gein. But I don't think Ed Gein was ever a 6'5" chainsaw wielding maniac that wore people's skin on his face to make a mask. if that's not crazy enough, the guy's family he comes from should be a whole nother list, the Hoyts. But this being just the top 10 killers, as in killer per movie, we're gonna go with Leatherface for all of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, because after all, he's Leatherface. This is my main thing here that I'll say about this. This is going out to Rob Zombie. Okay, the difference between Leatherface and the Boogeyman, the difference between this chainsaw wielding maniac and the Shape, the difference between him and Michael Myers is he's a berserker. Michael's Mystery. When I want to see a berserker killer, I don't go and watch Halloween. I go and watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre. In every single one of the Texas Chainsaw Massacres, that is the one thing that they did. They did not change their script. They did not change their tune when it came to Leatherface. He was always a maniac wielding that chainsaw like he has problems, right? He's got some problems upstairs in the old grave. He never changed it. It always was scary. Some of the best jump scares, some of the best underrated sound effect scares of all time. This movie really does, or I'm sorry, this franchise really does keep on going and going, and the more they make it, I just don't see how there's never going to be an audience for it. They do the one thing that they do what AC/DC does. They give you what you expect. They don't do what David Bowie would do and keep changing and altering. They do an AC/DC with Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Leatherface. They never change the script. They give you what they expect. That being said, there is one that you can find in another movie, or I'm sorry, in another video that I'll link below, where there is some twists and turns in the old franchise. Coming at number 3, probably a one that everybody's asking themselves, why didn't that make number 1? I'm gonna go with none other than Jason Voorhees. Even though Friday the 13th started where it was Jason's mom doing the killing for revenge of her son, when Jason finally came out of the woods and decided that he was gonna start hacking up people, it kind of became the most popular thing. I hate to say it, even when wearing the shirt, it's probably more popular than Mr. Michael Myers. Yes, this killer might be the most famous money-making mass killer of all time. His movies are always fun. Like, when you're watching the kills, you don't think to yourself, oh my god, I can't watch. You're really watching saying, alright, this is why I watch a Friday the 13th movie. They're pretty fun, they're pretty cool. When I watch the franchise, it seems like I can go from 1, 2, 3, 4 until bedtime, wake up, go 5, 6, 7, and 8, and keep on going and going, because it's just one of those fun movies, one of those fun movie franchises that you want to stay with. Jason Voorhees, he's a pretty cool killer, and they keep on reinventing the way that he does it. And though I don't agree with number 9 and how they went about that, ultimately, most of the time, you're going to always get a unique Jason Voorhees. Look, if Jason Voorhees was number 3, then I'm pretty sure everybody knows who number 2 is. Or at least half my viewers here are going to know who number 2 is. Number 2 being Freddy Krueger. The origin of Freddy Krueger is the farthest thing from cool you've ever seen. I mean, this is a guy who was a pedophile that killed kids. And yes, that is the farthest thing from cool as it gets, but when you think about the look and the originality that Wes Craven did for this character, not just the makeup effects, not just the glove weapon, but the fact that this guy didn't kill you in this realm, he killed you in the dream realm. On top of that, yes, he did have a ton, and I mean a ton of original cool kills, but you kind of expect that when you don't have to do the laws of physics. You can basically do whatever you want if you're controlling somebody's nightmare. And you're given all those liberties, when you're given all those mulligans, and you actually deliver, well, far be it from me to give that guy not his just due. Freddy Krueger, one of the most iconic killers of all time, and he has made number 2 on the Jack Does Horror Top 10 list. And finally, the moment you guys have all been waiting for, the winner and champion of the list. We're talking about none other than the Shape, the man on the shirt, Michael Myers. And if you dig the digs, hey, there's a link in the description below. Anyway, yes, Michael Myers Mainly because, let's face it, how many mass killers and holiday killers and everything else followed Mr. Michael Myers in the movie Halloween. John Carpenter really knocked something original out with this one. We never seen anything like it before it happened. Yes, like number 10, Norman Bates on this list, you've seen killers happen before, but not like this. Not where we're questioning whether it's man or something more than man. Not because we're like, Jesus, what's really behind that mask? When you're talking about horror movies and somebody says mass killer, this guy probably comes up more than anybody else. Hence why he's number one, and hence why he's always going to be number one, at least in Jack's book. Oh, there you have it, folks. Another list finished, done, kaput until I decide to redo it. Just playing. Look, that's the list. Agree, disagree, go ahead and leave a comment below. I love to hear the feedback. Also, once again, if you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe this video. And hit the notification bell because you get notified, because that's what notification bells do. With that being said, until next time, I'm Jack, and this is Jack Does Horror. Good night!
Yeah. Plants and turtles. Plants and turtles. I only keep pets I can eat.